It was a Tuesday afternoon, just days before Thanksgiving, and I was wrapping up a project at my desk. The office was quiet. The only sound, the soft hum of my computer. My phone buzzed on the desk. It was my mom. I answered, putting her on speakerphone, out of habit. My fingers still flying across the keyboard to finish one last email. "Olivia, are you there?" Her voice was strangely cold. Rehearsed. "Yeah. Mom, I'm here. What's up?" There was a pause. A rustling sound. Then her voice came back. Flat and hard. "Olivia, your father and I have decided you're banned from Thanksgiving until you apologize to Tyler." The words were so sudden, so sharp. They didn't even register at first. Apologize for what? Before I could form the question, my cousin Tyler's voice cut through the speaker, loud and clear from the background. "She can eat leftovers in the garage." A cruel laugh followed. Not just from Tyler, but from another family member. My mom said nothing. She didn't correct him. She didn't defend me. She just let the humiliation hang in the air between us. My mom continued, completely oblivious to the silence on my end. "So, do you think about what you need to do? If you want to come..." Something inside me didn't break. It froze. The shock on my face hardened into a quiet, cold resolve. My breathing was even. My hands were steady. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't raise my voice. "Okay. Mom," I said, my voice chillingly calm. "I'll think about it." While she was still on the line, my other hand moved with purpose on my computer. I opened a new browser tab. I navigated to the mobile carrier's website. I logged into the family plan account, the one I paid for, the one I had managed for 6 years. My mouse clicked through the menus. Manage account. Manage ownership. With a few decisive clicks, I initiated the transfer of the account holder responsibilities directly to my mother's name. Effective immediately. The $200 a month burden was now hers. I moved my cursor to the end call button on my screen and clicked. The line went dead. A second later, an email dinged in my inbox. The subject line read, "Account ownership transfer initiated." The power dynamic had just flipped, and they didn't even know it yet. For years, I had been the family's silent benefactor. Not because I was wealthy, but because I was disciplined. I worked hard. I saved. And I lived below my means so I could have a safety net. Over time, that safety net had been stretched to cover all of them. It wasn't a single grand gesture. It was a death by 1,000 quiet payments. The phone plan was a perfect example. I took over the bill 6 years ago to stop the endless drama of shut-off notices and late fees. $200 a month, every single month. I did the math in my head. That was over $14,000. Just so they could have the convenience of a service they didn't have to think about. Then there were the medical bills, the surprise co-pays for my dad's checkups, the cost of my mom's prescriptions. It was always a quiet, "Don't worry, I've got it," and a quick swipe of my card. The utilities? 2. A high electric bill would be met with my mom's worried sighs. So I'd just log in online and pay it. Sometimes I'd cover it up, saying, "Oh, I think I paid that one already, Mom." Other times, I just did it in silence. Groceries were a constant drain. I'd show up with an extra $100 worth of food, things I knew they wouldn't buy for themselves, and wave it off as my treat. And Tyler was a category all his own. His life was a constant stream of Venmo requests. $300 for rent, $100 for a car thing, $50 for a night out. They weren't loans. I knew they were gifts. I never expected to be paid back. The real irony was that they saw my discipline as a quirk. They'd mock me for being frugal or too sensible, never once connecting that my careful choices were the only reason their world remained stable. My discipline wasn't for me. It was the invisible foundation holding up their lives. And they had just decided I wasn't even worthy of a seat at their table. A week passed in silence. My phone was a storm of angry texts and voicemails about the canceled services, which I ignored. They were used to me absorbing their problems. And my silence was a language they didn't understand. I was checking my credit card statement online, doing my monthly budget, when I saw it, an unexpected charge from a major electronics retailer. The amount was $200. My heart went cold. I clicked on the charge details. The item purchased was a high-end gaming laptop. I knew instantly I hadn't bought it. Then I saw the shipping address. It wasn't mine. It was Tyler's apartment. The realization hit me like a physical blow. He hadn't just asked for money this time. He had stolen times it. He must have saved my card information from one of the countless times I'd helped him out. And he used it without permission. This wasn't a family squabble anymore. This wasn't about hurt feelings or entitlement. This was a felony. This was credit card fraud. The game had just changed. And he had no idea what he'd just started. The cold anger I felt was different. It was clean, sharp. I needed a plan. I called the one person I knew would understand strategy over sentiment, my mentor. Clara. She was a powerhouse who had taught me everything I knew about negotiating my worth in the professional world. Now, I needed to apply those lessons to my personal life. He didn't just disrespect you. Olivia, he committed a crime. Clara said over the phone, her voice cutting through my panic. So you don't get emotional. You get evidence. This is no longer a family drama. It's a case. I want you to build a dossier of their crimes against you. Every dollar, every receipt, every broken promise, quantify their dependency, and document their fraud. The binder was born, but we called it the dossier. It felt more appropriate. That night, I began a mission of financial archaeology. My small apartment became a war room. I printed years of bank statements, credit card bills, Venmo histories, and online payment confirmations. I organized them with meticulous precision. I created tabs: utilities, medical, groceries, and the most damning one, Tyler's allowance. A new, chilling tab was added: fraudulent charges. The $1,200 laptop charge was its first pristine entry. I highlighted dates and amounts in bright, unforgiving yellow. The pages filled up, each one a testament to their casual exploitation. The dossier grew thick and heavy in my hands, a physical manifestation of the weight I had carried for years. This wasn't a collection of grievances. It was a weapon, and the process of building it wasn't painful. It was empowering. I was no longer a victim, reacting to their chaos. I was an auditor, preparing my case. Late one night, following Clara's advice to check for any other surprises, I ran a full credit check on myself. I expected it to be clean. My score was excellent. I was meticulous. The report loaded on my screen. I scrolled past the familiar accounts: my car loan, my credit cards. Everything looked normal. And then I saw it. An active personal loan I didn't recognize. My blood turned to ice. The lender was a local credit union. The amount was staggering: $24,000. The loan was taken out 8 months ago. My hands started to shake. I felt a profound sense of violation. A sickness rising in my throat. I immediately called the credit union's 24-hour fraud department. After a tense series of security questions to verify my identity, the agent on the other end confirmed the details. "Yes, ma'am," he said, his voice professionally detached. The loan was disbursed 8 months ago. The purpose listed on the application was for an emergency infusion for a failing local business. He paused and then delivered the final blow. The business name is listed as Miller and Son Contracting. My father's company. My father hadn't just taken my money. He had stolen my name. He had forged my signature and taken out a massive loan that could destroy my entire financial future. The Thanksgiving ban, the mockery, the years of entitlement. It wasn't just casual cruelty. It was a conspiracy of silence to hide the ultimate betrayal. They weren't just taking my generosity for granted. They were actively robbing me. I called the meeting. My voice on the phone to my mother was devoid of emotion. "I'm coming over tomorrow at 7. You, Dad, and Tyler need to be there." When I walked into my parents' kitchen, the air was thick with resentment. They were waiting for me, expecting a negotiation, maybe an apology. They thought this was about a phone bill. I walked to the kitchen table and placed the heavy dossier in the center with a solid, echoing thud. I sat down. "We're not here to argue," I began, my voice low and steady. I opened the binder to the fraudulent charges tab and slid it across the table toward Tyler. "Tyler, on November 28th, you used my credit card, without my permission, to purchase a $1,200 laptop. That is felony credit card fraud." Tyler's face went from smug to sheet white. He started to sputter. "I was going to pay you back." I cut him off, my gaze shifting to my father. I turned the page in the dossier. "Dad, 8 months ago, you walked into a credit union, used my personal information, and forged my signature to take out a $24,000 business loan in my name. That is identity theft. Also, a felony." The silence in the room was absolute. The color drained from my father's face. My mother looked back and forth between us, her expression one of dawning horror. I let the weight of the words settle. "You are not going to apologize. You are not going to make excuses. You are going to listen." My voice was a blade. "You have 2 options. Option A, Tyler returns the laptop tomorrow. And you, Dad, will come with me to the credit union to assume full legal and financial responsibility for the fraudulent loan, transferring it into your name. We will sign the papers together." I paused. Option B, I walk out of this house, drive to the police station, and file 2 separate felony reports. I will press charges, and I will see them through to the end. My mother finally broke, tears streaming down her face. "Olivia, we're your family." I looked at her, and for the first time, I felt nothing but cold finality. A family doesn't do this. "You have 24 hours to give me your answer." I stood up and walked out, leaving the dossier open on the table. They chose option A. There was no negotiation. The next day, I stood silently in the credit union as my father, looking defeated and old, signed the paperwork that transferred his crime into his name. He could barely look at me. Tyler dropped off the unopened laptop at my apartment that evening. Without a word, the power dynamic wasn't just flipped, it was shattered. 3 months later, I was signing a different set of papers, the ones that made me the owner of a small condo in a quiet part of town. The down payment was the money I had fought to protect, the money that was supposed to be for my future, and now it was. As I unpacked, I didn't feel anger or sadness. I felt peace. I pinned a single note to my new corkboard, a promise to myself. The bill for my respect is no longer accepting payments from anyone but me. I don't know what will happen with my family. I don't know if they will recover or if our relationships will ever be repaired. But for the first time in my life, I know with absolute certainty that it is not my problem to solve. My silence wasn't weakness. It was the negotiation tactic of a lifetime. I had finally bought my own freedom. Have you ever had to draw a line in the sand with your own family? Share your story in the comments. And for more stories about turning betrayal into strength, make sure to like and subscribe.